The Minister of Transportation, Mr. Saidu Alkali, has assured that the federal government will ensure justice is served in the ongoing investigation into the recent Abuja-Kaduna rail train derailment. He made this known while briefing State House correspondents on the incidents at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. During the briefing, the Managing Director of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Mr. Kayode Okwefa, reveals that international syndicates are involved in cases of rail track vandalism across the country. He, however, clarified the preliminary findings indicate the Abuja-Kaduna train derailment was not caused by vandalism. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Nigerians woke up to the news of a train accident on the Abuja-Kaduna train service on the 26th of August 2025. A total of 618 passengers and crew members were reported to have been aboard the ill-fated train, which derailed and capsized around the Asham station at about 11 in the morning, 49 kilometers away from the Idu station where it took off from. Initial report says 7 persons were injured, and a particular media outfit had reported that 1 life was lost. However, officials of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, led by its Managing Director, Mr. Kayode Okwefa, is at the Presidential Villa to set some of the records straight.
The report we had earlier says 7 people were injured. Actually, they were close to 20, and there are different degrees of injury. Some people felt the injury is not serious enough, they should not count them as serious. Because once you are regarded as serious, you have to go into the ambulance.
He speaks on some of the security challenges facing the rail services in Nigeria, including activities of rail track vandals, as he assures of efforts to ensure quick resumption of operations on the Abuja-Kaduna train services.
Though nationwide, the national rail network system, especially the narrow gauge, is grappling with huge cases of vandalization, from intentional theft by scrap speculators and syndicates. It is a big syndicate that is after the tracks for money. And they go as far as stealing boats, cliffs, rail, and some of these syndicates also extend internationally.
The Minister of Transportation, Mr. Saidu Alkali, who also joins the briefing, assures that thorough investigation into the incident is ongoing.
Government is determined to ensure safety of our citizens. We are determined to do justice to the investigation, not only to the investigation, to ensure we have done justice to the report.
The minister also speaks on efforts being made by the administration of President Bola Tinubu to boost railway services across the country, including the Warri-Itakpe train services.
In the last 2 years, we have achieved a milestone in our railway modernization. When this administration came on board, our project from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri was just at the outskirts of Port Harcourt. We are able to fix the segment from Port Harcourt to Aba, and we have commenced train service since last year.
For now, operations on the Abuja-Kaduna train services remain stalled, with Nigerians plying that route now left with the only options of traveling by road or air. But the rising cost of air tickets leaves majority with only one option, the road. The federal government has not given a specific date for resumption of services on the Abuja-Kaduna rail. However, it is optimistic that the suspension of operations will not be for a long time. From the Presidential Villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Governors from the northeastern region of Nigeria have commended security agencies for their sustained efforts in combating insurgency. In a 7-point communique issued at the end of the 12th rotational meeting in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital, the governors expressed concern that the sub-region continues to face humanitarian and infrastructural challenges.
With the recent floods alert across the region, the forum is calling for intensified public sensitization and proactive measures to minimize impact. They also urged the federal government and the NEDC to fix damaged infrastructure especially flood-ravaged bridges.
The impending flood disaster.
The governors further warned that the high cost of farm inputs could reduce output next year, as they call for subsidy to boost preparations for dry season famine.
Forum took to cognizance the focus on the credible agencies on climate risks and the impending flood disaster in the sub-region. It therefore calls for proactive measures in confronting the flood and robust sensitization of settlers along the flood plains. It also called for support from both federal and the Northeast Development Commission to reconstruct the broken infrastructure, especially bridges, by the floods. Forum decries high costs of agricultural inputs, which might have direct negative consequences on farm outputs next year. To avert impending food crisis ahead, it calls for more subsidies to farmers and robust preparation for dry season farming.
The governors appreciate the efforts of security agencies in the onslaught against insurgency, but regret that the sub-region remains confronted with humanitarian and infrastructural issues.
Forum acknowledges the appreciable success recorded in the onslaught against the insurgency in the Northeast, but regrets that the sub-region is still confronted by daunting humanitarian and infrastructural challenges.
The forum also congratulated the University of Maiduguri on its 50th anniversary and pledged support for the celebration and relaunch of its endowment fund in November 2025. The next meeting is scheduled to hold in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State, from the 12th to the 14th of December 2025.
A coalition of concerned Ogoni stakeholders have rejected what he describes as attempts to impose political leadership on the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project HYPREP, stressing that this initiative should not be turned into a political arena. Speaking to journalists in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, the leader of the group, Dr. Terry Baiga, cautioned the Ogoni cleanup project aimed at restoring polluted land, water and livelihoods in Ogoni communities must not be hijacked.
We stand united to alert the Nigerian government and the international community on the urgent need to protect the soul of Ogoni lands, the protection of the integrity of the people of Ogoni, and the Ogoni Cleanup Program, HYPREP, and the Ogoni Trust Fund Incorporated, which greatly affect the future of our people, is a metaphor for the ultimate quest to ensure Ogoni lands must not become a political captured project and trust.
Also speaking at that event, a member of the coalition, Oscar Saviour, condemned what he described as a late interference in Ogoni affairs. He warned that if such meddling continues, the people may be left with no option but to withdraw their support from politicians involved in future elections.
We are not happy, and we are not going to allow politicians to hijack the struggle of the Ogoni people. HYPREP should be seen and known to be Ogoni struggle, and will never be allowed to be a single individual that felt or feel that he has captured River State, or feel that because he has the power or the backing of Mr. President, that he can capture the people of Ogoni and the Ogoni struggle. With HYPREP project, it's not a political project. It was not given to us by merit. It was not given to us by a mere sharing formula that was being shared among elites or other ethnic nationalities in this country. It was given to us by the people struggle. And for that reason, it must remain the people's struggle. We have a say, so who becomes member of the board. We have a say, so who becomes nominees on that board. We do not allow, or we will not accept any politicians to hijack what belongs to the people. At this point, the youth of Ogoni said no to any capturing or hijacking of HYPREP project.
The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked President Bola Tinubu to direct the Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, and the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Mrs. Kemi Nandap, to reverse what are described as arbitrary, unlawful and excessive passport fees ranging between 100,000 naira and 200,000 naira. In a letter dated August the 30th, 2025, and signed by its Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadari, SERAP condemned the increase, arguing that the new rates constitute a discriminatory barrier that denies millions of vulnerable Nigerians access to passports and other citizenship rights. The organization has stressed that many disadvantaged citizens cannot afford the new costs and should not be forced to divert their meager resources from basic needs in order to obtain a passport. Senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has asked the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association to establish the implementation committee to drive the recommendations made at the just concluded NBA conference in Enugu. Speaking to Channels Television, Mr. Falana stressed that durable national security cannot be achieved without socio-economic security.
Well, every year we gather, we assemble at the annual general conference of the Nigerian Bar Association. Powerful speeches are delivered. Very important people are brought to deliver keynote addresses. You have profound debates. But at the end of the conference, the resolutions are never implemented. So we simply assemble every year to entertain ourselves, while members of the public are complaining about the quality of justice in our country, delay in the administration of justice, gross violations of human rights, and our judges and lawyers are glued to the promotion of political and civil rights, right to life, right to liberty, to dignity, freedom of expression, and so on and so forth, which can only be enjoyed by the rich. In fact, now, by the very rich. Because when you violate the rights of the poor, it simply says, God will judge. If you say, I have the right to life, I'm sick. I cannot go to a hospital because of poverty. A passport now can only be acquired with the sum of 100,000 naira. So how many Nigerians can afford that? So those rights, freedom of movement, dignity, and so on and so forth, are meaningless, hollow to the majority of our people. Hence, we are saying we must link political and civil rights with socio-economic rights. And that is what the African Charter on Human and People's Rights have done. That is what the Nigerian Constitution has done. But our judges believe, and very erroneously, that fundamental objectives and directive principles are not enforceable.
In part two, after the break, we'll bring you an update of Saturday's local government election in Rivers State. Plus, Information Minister Mohammed Idris says fairness, justice, equity all guide project distribution under current administration. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Managing Director of Corporate Nigeria Railway Corporation says both local and international syndicates are responsible for the vandalism on rail tracks. APC secures 20 seats, PDP wins 3 in Rivers State local government election. SERAP urges President Bola Tinubu to reverse recent passport fee hike. And Israel announces death of Hamas armed wing spokesman Abu Obaida in airstrike. The former governor of Kaduna State has been speaking on some national issues and why insecurity in Nigeria has remained unresolved. Mr. El-Rufai alleged that the present administration has engaged in periodic settlement of bandits and empowerment. He spoke on our political program, Sunday Politics.
What I will not do, okay, is to pay bandits, give them monthly allowance, or send food to them in the name of non-kinetic. It's nonsense. We are empowering bandits. It's not the government of Kaduna State. It's a national policy driven by the Office of National Security Advisor, and Kaduna is part of it. Many states are objecting. Now is objecting to that, but that is the policy now. Kiss the bandits. That's the new policy. My position has always been the only repentant bandit is a dead one. Let's kill them all. Let's wipe them. Let's bomb them until they are reduced to nothing. And then the 5% that still want to be rehabilitated can be rehabilitated. You do not negotiate from a position of weakness. You don't empower your enemy. You don't give him money to go and buy more sophisticated weapons. That's why the insecurity problem has not gone away and will not go away as long as this policy continues. I was governor of Kaduna State for 8 years. Only 3 schools were attacked in 8 years. Okay? This government has been around for 2 years. 3 schools have been attacked. And they paid the bandits. They paid them $1 billion the first time the school was attacked and students abducted. They are paying bandits. They are apologizing to them. They are
verify this information about $1 billion being paid?
Look. Let the governor or anyone come and deny. We have the evidence. When the time comes, we'll reveal everything.
Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, says that the country is targeting the gross domestic product, that's the GDP growth rate of up to 7% per annum. Well, he says the bold economic reforms make the target feasible in the medium term. So tonight, Babajide Ogunso, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's chief data analyst, is here to share the vital facts and insight about Nigeria's economic growth plans. Good evening, Babajide, and thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Good evening, Anne.
The government has its eyes on 7%, as we said earlier, for the annual economic growth. How feasible is this, even though the Minister of Finance has said it is actually feasible?
So the minister is right. It is feasible in the long term. But the question really is that the way to go? You can be moving fast. That doesn't necessarily mean you are moving in the right direction. And again, I would like to bring this up. There's a clear difference between what you see when you look in the mirror and what you see if you look through this. So with the economy, that indicator we always talk about, the GDP, is like looking in the mirror. It allows you to see the economy from a broad perspective. But what Nigeria really needs is a magnifying glass. We need to go and look at the real details of what is going on in the economy. Because you can look at it from the broad perspective, but the broad perspective can misrepresent the situation. I remember I was in a group where we were sharing ideas. 5 of us were in the group, and each of the 4 of us shared just an idea each, and the 5th person brought 10 ideas. So if you look at the cumulative ideas in that group, you'll say it is 14. However, one person really brought most of those ideas. So the summary of what I'm saying is, yes, GDP is a relatively good indicator. However, it works better for developed economies. For countries that are developing and undeveloped, it is better for us to look through a magnifying glass. Now, what is this magnifying glass I'm talking about, and what sort of indicators are this? I'll share that with you briefly. But since we're talking about what the minister said, 7% growth target from the government, he also said it in the context of the new economic growth agenda of the president. So let's take a look at previous agendas from 1999 and see how far we've come. And if you take a look at what exactly were the top 3 agendas under President Obasanjo, it was the Poverty Alleviation Program, the National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy, which also from needs we moved into the State Empowerment Strategy, and the Universal Basic Education. These were the top 3 economic programs under former President Obasanjo. We remember that the Poverty Alleviation Program preceded NAPEP. That was the National Poverty Eradication Plan. Now, beyond President Obasanjo, remember when President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua came into office, the focus was then on the 7-point agenda and Vision 2020. Vision 2020 then, the plan was for Nigeria to be among the world's top 20, Vision 2020 to be among the world's top 20 economies, and the 7-point agenda really focused then on power, infrastructure, education, agriculture, MSMEs. So he was clear as well on what his agenda was going to be, and that's why he created the 7-point agenda and Vision 2020 for Nigeria to be among the world's top 20 economies. Now, this was way back 2007, 2008. Nigeria still not anywhere close to be among the world's top 20 economies. President Jonathan, even before Shiopi came in, top 3 agendas then was the transformation agenda. We also remember the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan, and there was also the Industrial Revolution Plan that President Jonathan really was pushing. You can't also forget, and you win. That was also really big in our discussions then. You win was that business plan competition to help micro, small, and medium enterprises through a business plan competition to be able to quickly scale up, improve the ease of doing business. And look, then his plan was the competition was going to be able to stimulate a lot of jobs. President Buhari, we clearly can't forget when there was the COVID, there was the economic recovery and growth plan. He also had targets such as 7%, 8%, 9%, 10% annual economic growth rates. Unfortunately, or based on a lot of reasons, that did not happen. Then there was also a big anchor borrowers program, which was really championed by the central bank. Then the current central bank has said is not following such programs. And then there was that National Social Investment Program that had the conditional cash transfer, had the other programs. Now, under President Tinubu, we are looking at a reformed agenda. We're looking at a new plan of 2050. Which is starting from next year, 2026. So, the concern is we've seen a lot of agendas. We've seen everything. These were the top agendas from 1999 to now, over 2.5 decades. It's feasible for us to keep growing. However, is that the direction? Do we just want to focus on growth? Because real growth really masks a lot of the challenges we face.
Okay, Babajide, but when you look at coming from 1999, how much has Nigeria actually grown coming from that? And what would you advise the government to do to make sure economic growth is more impactful for the common man on the street? Because at the end of the day, the common man is the man that matters.
Yes, the common man that matters, but you can look at growth from different perspectives. If it's population, in 1999, we were just about 120 million. We are now gradually approaching 240 million, so we've almost doubled our population. But the challenge is, like I said, the economy is growing, but poverty still keeps growing. So let's take a look, first of all, at how much we've grown. We've seen that we've grown, but why is this growth not impacting the common man? 1999 to 2007, based on the statistics we have, cumulative growth rate within that period, 91%. 2007 to 2015, there was growth. It slowed down, 61%. Under President Buhari, 2015 to 2023, there was growth significantly slower than the 2 previous presidents, 11%. Now we're in another phase where we're looking at more growth. The challenge is how impactful is this growth, to your question. And now that we've seen the growth, let's take a look at the poverty numbers, because we clearly can see that despite all of this growth, poverty keeps growing faster. Remember when we were in 1999, the National Bureau of Statistics had released reports showing that Nigeria's number of persons living in poverty as at the beginning of 1999, 67 million persons. And the latest figures show poverty is now gradually inching up to 150 million. So we can clearly see that, yes, we're growing. However, the challenges that we face
goes beyond this GDP growth rate. What should the government do, like you've asked? We need to now be more specific. For instance, one indicator that the government needs to take more seriously is agricultural development indicators. I'm talking about what is our crop yield. We need to know how many cows we have in Nigeria per local government, per state, how much are crops performing. So we need a lot more specific, and we really need to go and the right word, we need to go crazy about our agricultural data. You know what we say? 1 in every 3 Nigerians that are employed in the agricultural sector. So what the government needs to do is, yes, keep an eye on its GDP data, but keep all of its body on Nigeria's agricultural data, because that's where the future is.
Thank you very much. Obajide Ogunso, founder of Leadership by Data and for Channels Television's Chief Data Analyst. Thanks for your time and your analysis on the news.
Take a look through this magnifying glass.
I will take it when I'm going home. All right, so other stories now. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, has reaffirmed that President Bola Tinubu's administration remains committed to fairness and equitable distribution of projects and opportunities across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. In a statement issued today, the minister addressed public concerns and misconceptions surrounding the allocation of federal government projects and appointments. Mr. Idris stresses that contrary to certain perceptions, the government has consistently demonstrated a commitment to balanced development and inclusivity, ensuring that no region is marginalized in its development agenda. He highlighted ongoing infrastructural interventions nationwide, covering highways, rail and power projects, and according to him, project distribution reflects a deliberate effort to promote regional balance, with the Northwest emerging as the largest beneficiary, receiving over 40% of approvals valued at 5.97 trillion naira. The minister also assured Nigerians that President Bola Tinubu is focused on building national infrastructure rather than local trophies, emphasizing that inclusivity is at the core of the renewed hope agenda. And still to come on the news at 10, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints donates to public institutions in Abuja-Kaduna, Ogun State, and in the FCT, Abuja. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Let's turn our attention to politics. The All Progressives Congress, the APC, has won 20 chairmanship seats in Saturday's local government elections in Rivers State, while the People's Democratic Party, that's the PDP, secured victory in the remaining 3 councils. The results were announced today by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission at its headquarters in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama has more.
It's the day after the local government elections in Rivers State, and all those involved in the exercise arrived at the headquarters of the state electoral body to give an update on the exercise. Without giving the breakdown of how the elections were collated or figures across parties, the chairman of RISEC reads out names of the winners as declared from the local governments. He notes that the results are credible, adding that all processes and procedures were duly followed to ensure a free and fair exercise.
Let me commend all the stakeholders in this process, the political parties, the candidates, the security agencies, the observers, the civil society organizations, the media, and indeed the electorate themselves.
In local governments like Eche, Emohwa, Kano, and Oyibo, the chairman had over 100,000 votes, while Obiakpo, the LG of the FCT Minister Wike, RISEC announced a total of 328,823 votes for the PDP candidates.
They've just announced the results here, and we don't know what will follow. Perhaps there are lots of litigations concerning these elections that are before the courts. Be that as it may, we can only know this with time.
Obinna Ebogidi from a civil society group said the elections went well and were peaceful. However, he advised RISEC to announce a more detailed result to strengthen transparency.
We want to encourage, for the sake of our transparency, for the sake of our trust, because trust is one issue that voters across Nigeria really have about election management bodies like RISEC. So in building trust, it will be important. I want to encourage that part of coalition is very, very critical to building trust.
Dr. Charles Omini, who observed the polls on behalf of an international human rights body, commended the peaceful conduct of voters, but expressed dissatisfaction with aspects of the process.
In Ahoda East and Ahoda West, the market women were out. You wouldn't even know if there's an election. Everybody was going around his normal business. And when you ask, they'll tell you whether we vote or not. We already know they have written results.
The elections have come and gone, but lapses are still being pointed out in several quarters on how the process could be improved. According to the state electoral body, all political parties except 2 took part in the election. These are the Action Democratic Congress, ADC, and the Boot Party. Now that results have been declared, the Commission says it will present certificates of return to the winners on Monday. Deborah Abalama, Channels Television News.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has commissioned the newly renovated Salawu Abiola Comprehensive School in Ogun State. Speaking on behalf of the church, the first councillor in Africa West Area Presidency, Elder Adeyinka Ojediro, says the gesture was aimed at promoting safety and dignity in the teaching and learning environment. He also says the church donated food and non-food items to the National Council of Women's Societies in Abuja.
This is the unveiling of the new look of the Salawu Abiola Comprehensive High School in Usiele, Ogun State, courtesy of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The intervention covers 2-story blocks of 20 classrooms, 200 chairs, desks and places of convenience for students and staff of the school. At the ceremony held in the school premises, the African West Area Presidency First Councillor, speaking on behalf of the church, says the gesture is to ensure safety and dignity in teaching and learning process.
For the impact of this is not lost on us, and that impact goes far beyond numbers. It touches on the lives of school children who now learn in safety and dignity. Teachers and staff who can teach with renewed energy and pride. Families who see their children's future brightened. And the fourth one, and a community which gains hope and strength from this little token.
The principal of the school commends the gesture, promising that the facilities will be judiciously used.
Our donors have our assurances that we will do all it takes to maintain these blocks.
Governor Dakwa Abiodun of Ogun State, represented by the Permanent Secretary in the State's Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, also commends the church for the gesture as he highlights government's efforts.
We have carefully selected 16 schools and 4 schools per division across the state, and Salawu Abiola is one of the schools selected, and a construction of a mega classroom is ongoing in the school.
After the speeches, the commissioning is performed. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints also donated food and non-food items to the National Council of Women's Society in Abuja for distribution to victims of natural disasters in 5 states as a demonstration of God's love to those in need.
We were moved with compassion. That what can we do to express our love and appreciation and to make those brothers and sisters feel loved, to have hope, and to be able to feel the compassion the Savior Jesus Christ would have for them.
They have done much in, well, I know in Africa, they did it in Rwanda, they did it in Kenya, they did it in Ghana, at a larger scale, not food like this. So I believe they are going to do it again.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has a significant and growing presence in Nigeria, with over 230,000 members as of 2024.
Drug abuse remains a major threat to public health and social stability in Kano State, with men, women, particularly youth, heavily affected with this. And according to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, more than 1 million people in the state are currently struggling with drug addiction. In this special report, our correspondent Nanchin Vincent takes a look at the rising case of drug abuse in Kano State.
The spate of drug abuse in Kano cuts across gender and age. The substances abused come in different forms, including cannabis, codeine, heroin, cocaine, and other harmful practices. According to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Kano ranks second in Nigeria for drug abuse prevalence, with a 16% prevalence rate. Data from the agency puts the figure at over 1 million persons. That is, in every 6 persons, 1 is a drug addict, and they are between the ages of 15 years and 64 years.
Almost about testing almost about 12,000 last year, almost about 12,779 people. Among those people, we find almost about 189 HIV positive, both male and female. So all those ones, they are into the services, taking their drugs.
Abubakar Sadiq, a civil servant who has recovered from drug addiction, shares his story, explaining his recovery and offers a message of hope to those still struggling.
As a Muslim, it won't allow you to pray. As a Christian, it won't allow you to go to church. They are all dangerous acts. It won't allow you to be peaceful with your family, with your friends. You know, I have friends that we did secondary school with, which I cannot go closer to them now. Why? Because of my lifestyle. You can do it. I believe everyone can do it. Since I did it, everyone can do it.
The NDLEA Rehabilitation Center in Kano is housing some addicts who are recovering, and they have regrets and are determined to embrace a drug-free future.
I've been using drugs for the past 16 years now. You understand? I've been through so many trials and tribulations, you get what I'm saying? So, but thank God I've realized, because one of the best things to happen to you as a drug user is being able to figure out that these drugs are problems to us and our society as a whole.
To curb the rising tide of drug abuse, the NDLEA in Kano has outlined a range of proactive strategies.
There are a great part of the society that did not really come into terms with the dangers in drug abuse and drug trafficking. Why I say that is because you can see vividly, maybe one, withholding vital information on the whereabouts or the mode of operations of some of these drug dealers. They live with them in the society, they sleep with them, they even marry their children or their daughters, but still they protect them, not really understanding the dangers that they are likely to unleash on the societies.
Experts recommend that drug abuse crisis in Kano can be drastically reduced through a combination of community intervention programs, stronger government policies targeting youth empowerment, and sustained media awareness campaigns. Remember, if you can quit for a day, you can quit for a lifetime. From Kano Commercial City, Nanchin Vincent, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, a 75-year-old grandfather, Uchelue Ikechukwu, is among 6 suspects arrested for illicit drugs during raids by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in parts of Anambra State. Meanwhile, 30-year-old Alpha Andrew was taken into custody in Taraba State after operatives destroyed 178,750 kilograms of cannabis sativa cultivated on his 71.5-hectare farm in Saradona local government area. Mr. Ikechukwu was apprehended on August the 28th this year in Omodioka, Dunokofia local government area with 26.7 kilograms of skunk. While in Taraba, Mr. Andrew was caught with a Dane gun on August the 26th when NDLEA operatives supported by the Nigerian Army for went through the Nigeria Forest Security Service, Mambila Youth Vanguard, and the vigilante groups all stormed this massive cannabis farm and destroyed the illegal crops. NDLEA operatives also recorded multiple interceptions and arrests across other states like Kaduna, Borno, Nasarawa, Adamawa, Gombe, Edo, Ondo, and Ekiti states. The Alaaye of Efon Alaaye Kingdom in the Efon local government area of Ekiti State, His Imperial Majesty Emmanuel Aladejare Agunsoye II, has called on government to do more in addressing the needs of his community. The traditional ruler made this appeal during the 2025 annual Efon Alaaye Day celebration tagged Efon Extravaganza. He also asked indigenes at home and abroad to contribute their own quota towards the development of the community.
Efon Alaaye in Efon local government area of Ekiti State recently played host to indigenes of the town as well as guests from far and near to celebrate Efon Alaaye Day 2025. They all converged on the town's mini stadium, which served as the venue for the cultural event, which many described as a joyful reunion. The arrival of Oba Lufon Alaaye More, the Alaaye of Efon Kingdom, Oba Dr. Emmanuel Adesoya Aladejare Agunsoye II, kick-started the activities of the grand finale of the Efon Alaaye Day. As a way of showcasing the rich cultural heritage and community spirit, participants here are dressed in similar outfits according to their different age groups and different clubs for this grand finale tagged Efon Extravaganza. The extravaganza is marked with cultural displays, dance, and a variety of activities that pay homage to the revered monarch.
It's been very colorful, very vibrant, and we're very grateful for good weather. The turnout is quite impressive. It's well-organized events. We're looking to celebrating more of this.
We work in a way that people say, look, it's a kind of communism around us here. We work together for the growth of everybody.
For those attending, it's a beautiful event, and they encourage many more people to attend and experience it, just as they call for more communities to organize events of this nature.
Efon Day is to commemorate a particular event that happened a few years ago when there was a near political disaster here. But God rescued the community from that disaster. And since then, we've adopted August 24th as a major day to mark such an event.
I enjoyed myself so much, and I need to pass this message on to my brothers and sisters. So maybe by next year, more of them can come along with me.
The Alaaye and members of the planning committee are happy with the turnout at this event. They also spoke about the idea behind the Efon Alaaye Day and call on government to do more to boost the tourism potentials of the community and indeed the state.
Efon is our home. I am calling on all of my sons and daughters to come home to develop Efon Alaaye.
We are asking government to please look kindly at us and give us an higher institution in Efon Alaaye. We will be very happy to have that. We need these industries, but our own natives are equally enterprising. So they have small industries in Efon that can still suck our population.
Government cannot do it alone, and the development of your community rests in your hands. So I'd like to counsel that other communities should take an example from Efon Alaaye, where we gather together and we sacrifice together to develop community in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of social infrastructure, and so on and so forth.
Efon Alaaye, southwest Ekiti State, is mostly inhabited by the Yoruba people who are predominantly farmers. Its history dates back to around 1180 AD, and reports suggest that it derived its name from its first founder, the first Alaaye Oba Lufon Alaaye More, who was the third Ogoni of Ife.
Let's delve into the world of sports. 9-time NPFL champions Enyimba International picked their first win of the season in matchday 2 clash of the Nigeria Premier Football League played this evening at the Enyimba Stadium in Aba. Joseph Abiodun got the only goal of the clash in the 6th minute of the tie against Niger Tornadoes. Ubong Friday's lone goal also handed Rivers United their first win of the season on home ground against Kwara United. For Katsina United, they picked an impressive away win in Jos as they edged Plateau United 2-1. Sadiq Abubakar and Uche Collins were on the score sheet for the away team. And for Bayelsa United, it is back-to-back win as they beat newly promoted side Barao FC 2-0 in Yenagua. Kano Pillars were held to a 1-1 draw at the Sani Abacha Stadium by visiting Wiki Tourist, while Warri Wolves beat Rangers International 2-0 for their second win of the season for the newly promoted side. And Dominic Szoboszlai's stunning free kick gave Liverpool first blood against Arsenal with a 1-0 win in Super Sunday's battle between the English Premier League title favourites. But the tense tussle at Anfield looked set for end in a stalemate until the Hungarians' 83rd minute strike ensured the defending champions remained the only side in the perfect record from the opening 3 games. Brian Gorda also came off the bench to score the 89th minute goal to give Brighton their first win of the Premier League season, while condemning Manchester City to back-to-back defeats. In today's other early games, West Ham eased the pressure on boss Graham Potter with a 3-0 win against Nottingham Forest. Let's talk basketball now. Africa League ambassador Chini Ogumike is excited with the level of skills showed by the 20 selected players of the under-23 Ball for Her and Queen of the Continent camp at the American International School in Lagos. Under the guidance of Ogumike and head coach of the Nigerian men's national basketball team, Abdulrahman Mohammed, the 20 players had the opportunity to showcase their talents on the court before taking part in an on-court camp. The organizers are saying this initiative is aimed at promoting and creating a pathway for the Nigerian child who is dreaming of pursuing professional basketball career. Away from sports, but outside our shores, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, has already congratulated the country's defense forces after airstrikes in Gaza City killed the spokesman for Hamas's armed wing. He gave no detail of the time or the location, but the IDF earlier said its aircraft attacked a key terrorist in Al-Merimal neighborhood on Saturday. And this promoted and prompted reports of this incident in Israeli media that Obeida had been the target.
Although the Israeli defense minister believes that the leader of the Hamas armed wing, Abu Obeida, has been killed, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stopped short of confirming the news. He told a press conference on Sunday, "We do not know yet the final outcome, but I hope he is no longer with us. I note that no one from Hamas has come to speak about this. The coming hours and days will make things clear." The operation that targeted Obeida was carried out by the IDF and Shin Bet, which released a joint statement that the operation had been made possible due to prior intelligence gathered by Shin Bet and the IDF's Intelligence Directorate that had identified his hiding place. 5 missiles struck the 2nd and 3rd floor of the 6-story apartment building simultaneously from 2 different directions. The targeted flat had been used as a dentist surgery. Over the past few years, Obeida, believed to be about 40 years old, delivered a number of long diatribes against Israel on behalf of Hamas's military wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades. Always masked in a Palestinian scarf, he became an idol to Hamas supporters throughout the Middle East. In what may have been his final speech on Friday, Obeida said the fate of remaining Israeli hostages would be the same as that of Hamas fighters, warning Israel against its planned invasion of Gaza City. In the meantime, pro-Palestinian rallies have been holding in countries as calls for international community intervention rise.
And the main news again. Managing Director of the Nigeria Railway Corporation says that both local and international syndicates are responsible for the vandalism on rail tracks in Nigeria. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawade. Good night and have a wonderful and fruitful week ahead.